So the dimly lit house that you see behind us is called the Graffiti House, and we are out here in Brandy Station. Now, Brandy Station is an interesting area because of the Civil War battle that was fought here, the Battle of Brandy Station. Now, the home, it was discovered back in, I believe, the 1990s, that the inside walls of the upstairs rooms were covered with graffiti. It looked like pencil or charcoal they would have taken in that day. And there were names, there are drawings, there are quotes, dates, all kinds of things written on the walls up there. And the cool thing about it is that this house was believed to have been used as a Civil War hospital. And both the Confederates and the Union soldiers were brought here at specific times during the 1863 year. And you can see all kinds of writing up there just covering the walls. So very fascinating place. And we hear that, of course, it's haunted by quite a few different spirits. A couple of them have been left behind here for whatever reason. And we came out tonight to see what kind of activity this place might have, whether it be from the soldiers that might be lingering behind or from perhaps the people who had lived in the house after the Civil War.
Okay, so we have a stationary camera set up right here that's going to be constantly running, and in the doorway over here behind you we have a shadow entity detector set up, which this bright light will illuminate and signal that camera if anything passes in front of it in this room, which has some activity. And then in here we have a trail cam set up that's monitoring both of these rooms to take 2 pictures or 3 pictures consecutively if anything trips that. And then in this room we have another trail cam that's facing at the corner of that room that's a little bit hard to see. So I think up here we have all angles covered, either through camera that's going to take pictures or the steadily running video camera that's going to be out there. So, alright, so we're in the upstairs room, and this room was used as they believe it was used as an operating room when this place was a hospital. It was a hospital during the Civil War, so they believe. And we're doing our baseline EMF sweep. So far, nothing off the charts by any means. Everything seems normal. But we're going to continue sweeping this room and then maybe sit down for flashlight session or EVP session. I don't know if we'll have much luck with the EVPs because there is an interstate nearby, so we do have to keep that in mind. But we'll see what we can do. Now if you look over here, that's probably because of the... I would have thought it was because of the heater. There must be some wiring or something. But there's a couple cool pictures in here that are painted, or that are drawn from when the soldiers were through here. You can see over here there's a drawing of a woman, which is pretty cool. And over here, someone wrote, it's hard to discern, but you can see the picture of the woman here, and then it says James River Whorehouse, is what it says over there. They spelled it H-O-U-R for horror, and then they wrote it over here again. It says horror or something, it looks like. But nonetheless, some other interesting things over here. There's a drawing of a nurse. Someone drew one of the nurses. And this is a piece that was, I believe, taken from here. That is also of a drawing of 2 nurses. Because when they first discovered this stuff, I guess they cut some of it out and sold it. And, sold pieces of the graffiti and such. But a lot of really interesting drawings and graffiti in this room here. And to think this stuff goes all the way back to during the Civil War. And we even found one over here that says the first snowfall. It says first snow, November 9th, 1863. So in 1863, up at this point, they'd already had snow. That crazy. So it's pretty cold out there today, but not snowing. So let's do that EVP session and see what we can pick up.
Okay. Should I hold this or should I set it on the floor? What do
I
you
would
think?
set it on the floor, but we're gonna have to be mindful of our stepping because
Right.
the floorboards do creak quite a bit.
Okay. Well, I do have this on. I have it recording right now. We are upstairs here with you. If there's anyone here, we would like to speak to you. We don't mean you any harm. We don't want to disturb you or invade your space. We simply want to communicate. So if you could you please tell us your name? You can say it right into this little black box that's on the floor here.
How many people are here with us right now?
Why did you first come here to this house?
Are there any Union soldiers here with us today?
Where were you originally from? What town?
Okay, so we're coming into the next room that is adjacent to the last room that we were in, which is the operating room. I'm not sure if this one was an operating room also. But interesting picture up here. There's a picture of a guy dancing. It looks like he's dancing. And the writing says something to the effect of Jefferson Davis, is easy on the boots. And what that means is before Jefferson Davis, the Confederate president, they had boots that were just leather. They didn't have a left foot and a right foot boot. So they would just slip the leather boots on and they'd conform to their feet. Well, I was told that Jefferson Davis actually came in and said, you know what, we need a boot for the left foot and a boot for the right foot. So Jefferson Davis was the one that invented the left foot and the right foot boot instead of the same boot that fits on either foot. So interesting thing, and then they wrote that up there about him. Also in this room, General Jeb Stewart signed right here, and this was his signature. It was authenticated by his family and I believe the Smithsonian. Another, probably one of the most famous signatures in here, if not the most famous. And then also over here, this guy right here, John Egbert Farnum, that's his signature right up there. And I have a picture of him. And he served with the 1st Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteers during the Mexican War. Wrote for the New York Times. And it has some other interesting facts about him there. It's pretty cool. But as far as our EMF suite, in here, it's once again all normal. You can see over here where the Army of the United States came through and wrote over everything. Army, the United States.
Is there anyone here with us right now? Can you tell us your name? Tis Michael.
Sounded like a woman's voice, didn't it?
What, that said that?
Yeah.
No. At least not to me. Did you say your name is Michael? If so, can you say it again? Can you tell us what state you're from?
What did you hear, Georgia?
I don't know. I thought maybe I heard Georgia. What month was it that you stayed here? Can you say the name of somebody in the room here? Were you a Union soldier or a Confederate? So we spent some time doing a spirit box session here in what I call the trunk room. We're not exactly sure the function of each of these rooms, but there is this huge, lovely trunk in the corner, and it's opened up and all the drawers are revealed and everything. So, but we had kind of an interesting spirit box session. It sounded like a few times that there were some names that came through. The first one sounded like it was Michael. And we know that Michael Bowman is as one of the spirits who is reported to have stayed here. He's the one that is rumored to have been a ladies' man and likes the women with very long hair. We also heard a couple of other things throughout. When we asked the state that the person was from, it sounded like he said Georgia. So kind of an interesting spirit box session overall, and we might have to try it again in another room and see if we can get similar results.
Now, one thing to keep in mind with the spirit box, it is a radio, and it does pick up radio transmissions. It is scanning the different radio stations. So when we hear voices come through, they're not all paranormal ghost voices. Some of them are normal radio stations. There were a couple interesting things, but of course, sometimes there is that audio pareidolia, which you can kind of, sometimes your mind can kind of piece together bits of speech to make it sound like an expected answer. But Linda and I did both think that we heard Georgia mentioned through there. I also heard the name Trump come through. One interesting thing is they said that out here in the hallway, when they had forensics come in, they actually found blood. There's still blood in the hallway. And also in the rooms that we just came out of, which are the operating rooms. So, I mean, I can't really tell. There's so much. I mean, these floors were so old. There's so much on them. But when we go into this room here, this is where they have a picture of Michael. That was his name, right?
Yes.
And Michael apparently was a ladies' man. He likes ladies. So people have come in here and they've done EVP sessions and they've picked up his voice talking about some of his lady friends. So we're going to break down for maybe do a flashlight session here if we can. Because they also told us that there are some spirits around here who like to play with the flashlights. So we're going to do a flashlight session. We'll run the recorder while we're doing it and see if we can pick anything up, maybe any responses from Michael.
Okay, so we're going to try that flashlight session. As Jeff had said, we have the blue flashlight up here on the table underneath the picture of Michael Bowman. And we have the red flashlight down here on the chair. So we're going to sit down, ask a few questions, and see what results we can get.
Also, let's move. Whoops, we got one coming on there.
Yeah.
All right, already. I was going to say let's move the tip of that EMF detector away from that flashlight, just
Okay.
so we don't get any false positives there.
Okay. There we go. Put that down under there.
Okay, and let's start some questioning.
Okay. As you can see, we have these two metal sticks sitting here. One blue metal stick on the table, another red metal stick here on the chair. And if you touch or mess with these metal sticks a little bit, you can make a light come on the front of these. So could you try to light up perhaps the blue metal stick for us, make the light come on?
Michael, if you're here with us, can you turn on that blue flashlight, please? We want to talk to you. We want to hear some of your stories. There's the blue one.
Very nice.
Cool. Now what we do now is, as Linda said, sometimes these flashlights do come on at random. So we want to make sure that it is you turning them on. Oh, we got both flashlights coming on now. Could you turn them both off for us, please? Could you turn the blue one off too, please? Thank you. Thank you. And like I said, what we like to do is just make sure that it is all right for you to be able to turn those on and off, that you can do it. And that it's not just random, which sometimes it happens to us. Can you turn on the red flashlight for us, please? Just to show us that it's not random, that the flashlights are not randomly coming on. That's the one that's on the chair. Whatever you did to turn them on a minute ago, can you do that again and turn on that red one, please? And just the red one. Thank you. We really appreciate that. Could you please turn that one off for us? Could you turn that red flashlight off for us? Thank you. Okay, if you are Michael, can you turn on the red flashlight? If you're not Michael, okay, thank you. Could you turn that off for us, please? If you could turn that one off for us, we'll ask you some more questions. Maybe get to know a little bit more about you. All right, we got both of them coming on again.
Mm-hmm.
Now that flash that's going off, that's Linda. She's trying to take a picture of you. If you are around and would let us do that, that would be awesome. But if you're a Union soldier, can you turn on the blue flashlight, please? Okay, that's the red one. Do you remember if Michael was a Union or a Confederate soldier?
I don't know. Is that his uniform that he's in right there?
I believe it is.
It looks Union.
It does, but then again, it's hard to tell because sometimes the South didn't always wear just gray, you know.
No, but he doesn't look. It looks a little. I don't know. I'm willing to bet he was Union, but I don't know.
Is that you in the picture? If that's you in the picture, can you turn on the blue flashlight, the flashlight that's under the picture? If that's you, can you turn on the blue flashlight, please? So I'm not entirely convinced that we were communicating with somebody through the flashlights, but I'm not 100% sure that we weren't. The flashlights, they have been known to kind of come on at random when we set them at the loose setting that we set them at. Sometimes there's a little bit of contact being made and they come on and off at random. And that does happen. But there were a couple times when I asked to turn on a specific flashlight and that specific flashlight came on. And when that happens, it's pretty cool because it kind of seems like we actually have something intelligent turning on and turning off the flashlights. But at the same time, there is the possibility that it's a coincidence.
So, at least for the moment, things seemed pretty quiet in this room. We've been told that psychics had been in this room and they almost could not tolerate being in here. Somebody had speculated that perhaps this was a room where they piled up arms and legs and body parts and things of that nature. So, we're not exactly sure, but other people seem to not like this room much at all. So far, like I said, it seems to be pretty quiet in here. In just a little while, we may have to return to this room to try something like a spirit box or the EVP session, something of that nature, just a little bit of a different method to try to communicate with whoever may or may not be here.
So, we're up here in the upstairs Jeb Stewart room, and under the black light, we're able to reveal some green dried up fluid on the floor here. And my first thought was ectoplasm. But Linda came up with a different theory about it.
Yeah, I believe that it could very well be the varnish that they put over top of the boards. You can see that some of the boards have kind of a sheen to them. It makes perfect sense that in some places it would be worn away, and other places it's not, just from the normal wear and tear on the floors. And right there, you may not be able to see in the video, but the floors actually slant very strongly downward towards the camera. So that would account for the runs, or what looks like it running away from the window or from the walls there. There's also an extensive amount of it out in the hallway, and it's kind of there's an over swipe of it on the bottom of the door, and it looks like perhaps the molding, the brown molding that you see here, has been applied after whatever this green stuff is. Now, we've also been told that this place was looked over by a forensic team who brought in some luminol, and were able to detect that there was blood still left here in the house. We're not exactly sure what luminol would look like, or if there would be some residue or something left behind from it, but it's really kind of hard to tell at this point what it is. Urine, semen, saliva, things of that nature tend to glow that bright yellow or yellowish green, but this is so much of it that it's hard to believe that that's what this would be.
Alright, so where are we headed now?
So I think we're going to head down to this little small room. It's actually an addition that was built onto the house, and they have it set up as the medical ward, and we might try down there just an EVP session or a spirit box session and see what we can find.
Alright, let's go check it out. Oh yeah, this is the room we were in earlier that
Yes.
set up like the hospital.
Yeah, this is kind of a fascinating room. They have a lot of signs on the walls, and a lot of really kind of grotesque signs. They talk about amputations and things of that nature. So you can see a picture here with amputated feet, and it's quite disturbing. Legs and feet.
Yes, it is.
Private Lewis Martin Company E 29th Regiment, U.S. Colored Troops, whose right arm and his left foot were both amputated as a result of injuries sustained in the Battle of Petersburg on July 30th, 1864. And then they just talk about some of the general, about where they would amputate different body parts and things of that nature, how they would amputate it.
Oh, jeez. It
Yeah.
looks like the dry cleaners may have gotten a hold of one of their shirts.
Right. And then this is something I also found interesting. It said, 2 Civil War soldiers died of disease for everyone who died in battle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So pretty much disease took out twice as many as the war itself did.
Alright, so let's set up and see what we can pick up down here.
So we're starting the spirit box session here, and we're told that sometimes there's a little girl who's supposed to be around 9 years old, the spirit of a little girl that is seen around here, and some call her Sally, some call her Sarah. Not exactly sure what her name is, but If there is someone here with us, we don't mean to intrude or to, be here unwanted. We don't want to cause you any harm. We just simply want to talk to you, to communicate. So can you tell us what your name is? Can you tell us how old you are? Where was your home? Where did you live?
We heard this is the kitchen. Are you still cooking? What are you cooking?
There are a lot of odd smells that people smell here. Different types of food, cookies, baking, things of that nature. Probably residual, but you never know if there's a spirit lingering behind who did do a lot of cooking there. Can you tell us what state you're from?
That was weird. Just went silent like that?
Yeah.
Doesn't normally do that.
Nope.
I wonder if something blocked out the transmission or something like that.
I don't know, it could be. There is a point where it pauses just a slight bit longer, but it was not at that point where it should have paused like that. And it's right when you get to the top of the band, like, 108, and then it pauses for a second and continues back down to 80s or something, so.
Yeah, I haven't heard it do that yet, except for that one time.
That is odd.
Alright, so we wrapped up our investigation of the Graffiti House, and I have to say it is an awesome place. It was really cool to be in there and see all these different signatures and all these different writings from Civil War soldiers that were there over 150 years ago. Really cool experience. And to walk up this staircase, it was the very same staircase that Jeb Stewart walked up and that all these soldiers, both Confederate and Union, walked up way back during the Civil War. To be in this place that the floor is still soaked with blood from when it was a hospital. There are body parts that they found buried out around the yard because when they would amputate the limbs, they would stack them up by the window or they'd throw them out the window and they would just bury the limbs out around in the yard. So I guess they went around with some dowsing rods and they found a lot of the spots where those limbs were still buried. But a very historic, awesome place. If we do come up with any evidence other than what was presented in the video, there was a few things that may have been responses in the spirit box. We may have had some activity with the flashlights, may have had some interaction. We weren't 100% sure there. But if we come up with anything more definite, we will post it on our website, vaparanormal.com. So be sure to check that out for any updates.
So the Graffiti House was a pretty awesome place. It wasn't just the house itself, it was the land that it sat on, and even some of the surrounding buildings that seemed to be inundated with paranormal activity. The battlefield was right there, right close to it, and there seemed to be a lot of reports coming out of that area of paranormal activity, people seeing soldiers walking around. So it's just an awesome place. And then to have this building sitting there where, the building was about to be burnt to the ground. And, just the fact that they found this graffiti on the walls at the last minute and uncovered Jeb Stewart's name, that's when they said, oh, whoa, wait a minute, we need to get a look at this and figure out what this is. Just an awesome place. If you ever get a chance to get up there to Brandy Station, Virginia, and get a look at it, it's an amazing place. Our kind of hostess for the evening, Denise, was a great lady, very informative. She really seemed to know a lot about the history of the place and the surrounding area. So definitely stop by if you get a chance.